brain, they go through the A brain, their impulses there, and then we have this brain at what we'll call the top that can analyze and sort of suppress that or feel the feelings but sort of distance them and say, well, I'm going to spin my wheels, I'm not going to act on them. Meanwhile, your waking dream mind that's thinking about stuff is punching a guy in the face, but you disconnect that from your body, so you don't really do it. There's techniques like that because we have the extra circuitry.
Right, and I'm just saying there's very little evidence that we're really being disciplined. The world is run on cute puppy, cute kitty bullshit. All right, I mean, it's out there. It dominates human psychology. Human beings. Look at the American psychology. The average gun owner, they can't even give up their right to blow somebody's brains out for the sake of civilization. So come on, Pyro, it's game over.
To say, wait, don't send this to the body, disinformation. Okay, but you can't really say, well, intellect always great. The Nazis had this intellect thing working.
Oh, please, a stupid example. Okay, I mean, they did the process intelligently. They had some intelligent process, but you have to concede the premise was idiotic. Jew be bad, genetically brokey, Jew be greedy genetically, Jew be ruin the world genetically. I mean, come on, that was fucked-hearted and idiotic. So how the fuck can you compare that to intelligence? It was premised on something bizarrely, insanely stupid. Come on.
Well, time lies. Religions have intellectual and philosophical parts.
Yeah, intellectual and philosophical. I guess that was, you mean intellectual and psychological. And that's the whole point. We have to eradicate from policy the psychology. And there's no evidence, as I stated, that people have any willingness to do that. They will vote for president because he's cuter. They'll do that.
Sometimes it's the hate part that overrules that. Like you said, where all these educated people find slavery, whatever. They've been able to use their intellect the bad way, the way you're criticizing, I would also criticize. And they've used it to make just mere justifications that sort of justify, say, the ape urges when they should be reforming those urges into something better. Okay? And I think it's the ape urges in the slave, though, that just is not going to give into that, and rises up.
Get real. Look, I mean, it wasn't just the slaves that rose up, and there was a big ton of people who just said, oh, man, this is really ugly. They realized they were doing something really fucking ugly. And so they did what they could to stop it over time, and, went through the whole Abe Lincoln thing and Civil War thing and all that kind of crap. It wasn't some kind of free ride to get over that bullshit.
So sometimes these ape urges are going to still be saving us. And I see it as work.
Yeah, there won't be any, so I don't think you're going to find a circumstance that you can really detail where you're going to be able to prove that or demonstrate that. Okay, that there's some part of our emotional character that is superior to us doing the right thing for the right reasons as we intellectually can best identify those. So I think that's bullshit. You could say we are ignorant of something and that, and therefore you might as well go with an emotion because you're ignorant. But I mean, now we're not ignorant, so I just don't buy that argument. The calculations are there to be made, disciplined, objectively, intelligently, and we're breaking them because we're imposing our emotions into the equation, and that's just not going to it's not going to fly. It's not a functional starship.
Together. Sometimes you got to let somebody's attacking you. You want to let loose on that beast right
No,
now.
not if you're going to let loose with a nuclear bomb. Not if you're going to let loose with something that represents by you doing it a breaking of some sort of Geneva Convention or something, right? Okay, yeah, we want to torture him because he's going to maybe blow us up, and so now we're going to violate this principle, torture him, and now we basically license torture, so now our guy's going to get tortured, and blah, 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 and that's where it ends up. So obviously, sometimes you can't fight back. Sometimes you can't throw the punch, because if you throw the punch, you're acknowledging this as a solution, and as soon as you say this is a solution to a problem, you're fucked, because somebody else is going to use this to create a problem.
So if you can manage it well, then sometimes, I think when you're just lying in the sun at the beach and sort of, wow, this is great, absorbing energy, and it feels good. That's what lizards do. That's sort of your lizard brain going, this is good, this is all I want. If that's all we did all our lives, we wouldn't be human, but the fact that we release and funnel that lizard brain behavior sometimes can be good. It's just a matter of the right time and place.
But that's not really how we're constructed, Pyro, so unfortunately, and maybe that is the bliss, the ignorance, the bliss of ignorance. So there's a certain value to that, I'd almost argue that maybe those cruder life forms have it simpler, because all they have is bad and good. They don't have all these gradations. It's either feels bad or it feels good, and when they're in a good spot, it's good. Obviously, we are more complicated, and our whole drive mechanism is more complicated. And so, in a way, we get very little of that basky stuff, because even when we're on the beach and we're in the sun, oh shit, I got to pay my bills. Oh shit, I got to go to work Monday. Oh shit, I got to negotiate with that asshole who I really hate. Oh shit, you got a whole bunch of crap that's piled up on you, and a lot of burdens and a lot of shit and stress and crap, and you don't get out from under easily, because we do have this capacity to see into the future and do all this other shit, and a dumber animal isn't going to be blighted by that.
As far as the last 100 years doing things amazing with the brain, I would say, really, let's go back to your transition species thing. When you're talking about, there's some amazing things that have happened. There's some things going.
Well, I'd never call it amazing, though. Again, so this is, I know these are words we throw out there, but we're only amazed because of our ignorance and stupidity, and that's it. But there's nothing amazing. It's completely predictable that, once we had this capacity to build our little instruments of discovery, that we would discover the truth, and maybe the truth is, whoa, look at that, shocking and amazing. But no, it's not anymore. It just isn't. It's not. It's amazing is an emotional response. It's not really something. There's nothing beyond predictability in this.
Back hundreds of thousands of years that could be considered amazing. When you're talking about the amazing threshold we're waiting for that we would be discussing here, particular big thing of using our brains intelligently, that hasn't happened yet. Okay, we have wings that we glide a little. We jump and run up the tree and get an extra little puff. But
Again, you see, you're implying that there's some way we can take off, that this pig can fly, and that's where we have this fundamental disagreement. Because I don't see it. You can't construct the scenario, the dynamics, where you can create enough air pressure to lift the pig off the ground. So, I mean, you can take wings on a pig all day, and I'm saying you're not going to get it off the ground. It's not going to fly. You can't make this rat maze bullshit scenario, this consumption and reproduction bullshit, this addiction without purpose nonsense. You just can't turn it into anything. All you can do is try to make it less messy, less broken, but you're never going to win by any rational definition of that word.
Just don't pre-fly yet with our brains, okay, as far as I'm concerned. We are a transition species. It's one of the great things about living at this time, though, is we don't know what thresholds we're at. What individual?
Yeah, well, when I agreed with you about that transition species terminology, I was agreeing in the context of a more primitive human being. Because we're not transitioning into anything, okay? We're biologically degrading. We can transition, we can transcend our biology with our intelligence and create some kind of new world, but we're not going to get there genetically. We're going to get there intellectually, if we're going there at all, which is very unlikely.
And the groups might unfold. Since we are transitioning, it means that we're building up to changes that will then appear to happen rapidly. So that's exciting.
Again, see, you see some kind of potential. What I'm saying to you is, you know what the change is going to be, Pyro? Is that slowly but surely the human race is going to have to admit the truth, okay? I mean, they're still resisting the obvious, that there's no fucking God, all right? And that's, that's something they should have figured out hundreds of years ago. But I mean, it's sitting there. The brick wall of bullshit is there for us to just keep running into, and eventually it's gonna whack enough skulls that that's all you got. That's it. That's the transition. You're gonna finally bang into the wall enough times to admit the fucking wall exists, and that's gonna be your great singularity. Your great transition is gonna be finally someday humanity will say, oh fuck, it does suck.
Saying that, you use the example of that I had sex with an apple pie and felt that, so that's good, and argued on YouTube, enjoyed that, so that was good, and that this is how I justify life, and it's sort of true. Because you use those two things, I'm glad you added in this intellectual, because the enjoyment I get from arguing on YouTube, these feelings of, oh, I see, or oh, I hadn't thought of that, or wow, that's what, those intellectual feelings that I particularly enjoy. Yes, I'm
intellectual feelings. See, it's just, again, that this doesn't go anywhere. It just doesn't. You're only enjoying it because you're perceiving something that's benign. It's not a horror. Okay, if you were intellectually seeing, oh, Holocaust, oh, fuck, then you wouldn't enjoy this process. You'd be saying, oh, fuck. There'd be very little intellectual feeling. Okay, there would be emotional disappointment and depression and awareness, but they'd be separate things. But it's only because you're unicorning. I can smell the unicorn, and that's getting you off a little. But it's just because you're presumptively seeing something that is going to get something somewhere. And maybe it's part of your own psychology. I mean, it's kind of fun to figure out a puzzle. You're doing a puzzle and you like when it starts to work out. But if you take it a step further and you find out that the puzzle is basically going to say at the end, you are fucked, asshole, you're not going to be too fucking intellectually pleased.
Addicted to them just like these other feelings. It's like I was saying, the enjoyment of the orgasm that was more like above the middle, halfway above the middle. It's not
well, again, I'll make my argument that, let's say you get a cold, the flu. You'll have it for days, and you'll be pretty fucking miserable for a lot of fucking minutes. A lot of minutes in a row, you'll be miserable. Orgasm, yeah, it's, a tiny few minutes and it's over with. Even if you have nice, good foreplay and sex and blah, 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 in a couple hours, and that's the real reality of our world, is we're going to spend a lot more time in an unpleasant state than we are in a pleasant state. That's generally going to be true for most human beings in the environment or the world we've created for them. They're going to spend more time aggravated at work and aggravated at this and doing this and worrying about that than they're going to spend basking in any fucking sun or orgasming. And that's the reality. And the only thing that makes a difference for us, the thing that perverts the equation, as I've said before, what breaks our ability to logically see the stupidity of this equation, is the fact that we are addicted, that we're full of fucking desire. That's the difference. Okay, the desire projects a sense of value and purpose that is not real. It's a projection from our emotional psychology. It is not fucking real.
Those aren't the most, the whole apple pie thing, as great as it was, is, much lower thing. And I wouldn't necessarily say justifies life. I'd say you can do things like that to just get some more pleasure. But I think this intellectual feeling, which feels more like communing with nature, is much more desirable. 10 minutes of that is worth hours of more easy to get gratification type feelings. And this is the thing. Some feelings are...
Again, but you're not splitting it up between this thing, like I said, what is created as an addiction. Just as I'm puffing on this electronic nicotine, I wired it, just to get rid of the battery thing, but I have to get a new atomizer just so I don't blow something up and be stuck. But anyway, yeah, this is all, but it's all fake value. The value is only created because I have now created the addiction. So without the addiction, there's no value. The substance itself is nothing. Intellectually, we can see it for what it is, nothing. And the only thing that makes it something is because I have a physical or psychological demand that it exists for me to be comfortable.
Are good, and by which I mean that when the feeling feels good, it is good. Like, hey, I'm figuring that out. That's good. Now, sometimes you can fool yourself. You can use your intellect to give yourself an intellectual feeling, and really you're just gratifying. You're being selfish. Hey, I figured out a way to justify my selfishness. I feel intellectually good. Okay, somewhat false, but it's because because you're fooling that feeling.
Yeah, well, it's all false, Pyro. From religion to the justification, the rationalities that the rationalizations people use to justify capitalism, the exploitation of desperation. They're all there. It's all over the fucking place. Our whole fucking existence is built on stupid, idiotic, moronic, insane rationalizations just so people can feel better about playing this stupid, idiotic, moronic game.
In general, the feeling of figuring stuff out is good, and you do figure stuff out, okay? The other thing is, I know you...
Again, like most of the stuff getting figured out is figuring out ways to escape the basic truth about our existence, which is there are starving people in China. Don't throw that food away. You're an efficient bastard. You're a fucking monster consuming all over the goddamn place. Consuming other things' welfare. Fucker.
You like to not count good feelings as an objective good, where that suffering, if there's a level of suffering, are...
Like I said, the feelings are an objective good. I'll give you that. I mean, I don't think it's much of a good, because I think it's an illusion. When you feel good, know what you are? You are extracted of tension. You are extracted from the gnawing. Something's gnawing at you, okay? It's been eating at you since the day you were born. It's part of your basic existence, this eating, this tension. And when the tension